What's up guys, today we are talking about The Irishman. Finally, I know that it's been out on Netflix for a while, but I've only got around to watching it recently. Sorry for the delay with this review, but let's talk about it. This film has so many interesting things going for it. First off, it's a Martin Scorsese directed gangster film. Need I say more? Goodfellas. Martin Scorsese is a legend. Any film by him is worth watching, but this film in particular because it's starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. He basically got Joe Pesci out of retirement to do this film. And it also utilizes interesting de-aging technology to de-age the three main actors because it takes place over 3 different time periods, but it basically tells the story of this man, Frank Sheehan, I think that's his name, but he worked for the mob and he was supposedly involved and maybe responsible for the death of Jimmy Hoffa, played in this film by Al Pacino. Frank Sheehan is played by Robert De Niro. Joe Pesci plays this sort of accomplice to Robert De Niro, but you never really know where you stand with him because he's also very intimidating, and if you say one bad thing, Joe Pesci could have you killed off immediately. But anyway, the draw for this film is the 3 main actors, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, and Joe Pesci. These guys are legends, and the reason this film is worth watching and is made watchable and really entertaining is because of these 3 performances, particularly Robert De Niro and Al Pacino. I love the way that these 2 worked off each other. Joe Pesci is also great, but he didn't have as much of a character as I felt the other 2 did. He has great scenes, he has great lines, and his performance is very menacing and it's very low-key for Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci is usually quite over the top and he's very fast-talking, but in this film he's very laid back and reserved, and that was actually really interesting to see from Joe Pesci. On surface level, this film is really entertaining. Obviously, we know Martin Scorsese knows how to direct a crime drama. He knows how to do gangster films. Again, Goodfellas, need I say more? And this film isn't just recreating Goodfellas. It's not just redoing what made that film great. Yes, it does have trademark Scorsese moments. It has long tracking shots set to music from the time period. It has explosions. It has violence. It has, all of these things that have made Martin Scorsese films entertaining and watchable over the years. It has all of those things. But what I appreciated the most about The Irishman was that it takes on a much more reflective stance. The last half an hour of The Irishman is basically Frank Sheehan reflecting back on his life and the decisions that he's made and the mistakes that he's made and how his actions have affected the relationships that he's had with his family, with his friends, how he's basically the last person left out of all of his friends. Everyone else has died. He's had to kill people that he's cared about, and some of those decisions and, hits that he had to carry out affected his relationship with his daughter and his wife and his family. And it was basically him as a very old man at the end of his life looking back on his time in the mob. The whole story is narrated by Robert De Niro. It's him telling this story as an old man in his retirement home. It's him looking back and reflecting on his time in the mob and telling this whole story and how he was connected to Jimmy Hoffa and how he was potentially involved in the death of Jimmy Hoffa and all the people that he met. It's him narrating and telling this whole story. And Robert De Niro is fantastic. I haven't seen him this good in a very long time, but that's also because he hasn't been in many films recently. But he has so many great Robert De Niro-isms, all his tics and mannerisms and just the way that he says words, it's all fantastic. And that's because he's such a great actor. Al Pacino is also really great and really over the top in that fantastic Al Pacino way. And the way that Robert De Niro and Al Pacino bounce off each other, there are so many great moments. There are so many great individual scenes. The only flaw that I have with the film really is that sometimes it is a bit hard to follow all these events happening. It is a very, very long film. This film is 3.5 hours long. It is one of the longest films ever made. And as a result, it's very easy to get lost and carried away by all these events that are happening, especially considering that the story takes place over many different timelines. It is easy to get lost sometimes. But for the most part, I was just carried away with the events of the film by the performances, by the direction. There's always something going on that holds your attention, something with the direction, with the performances, with the music. There's always something that holds you there, even when the story is hard to follow. So overall, The Irishman was a very entertaining film. I had a great time with it. The performances are all fantastic. Martin Scorsese's return to gangster films was definitely worth the wait. I had a great time watching it. I'm going to give The Irishman an A-. It is definitely worth checking out. It is very long, so you might have to take a few breaks, but it is definitely a film worth watching for the direction, for the performances. It's just a very, very entertaining, watchable film. And what makes it special is that it has that reflective tone. The last half an hour is this man just looking back on his life, and that's what really gives the film its emotion. So yeah, those are my thoughts on The Irishman. If you guys have seen it, let me know what you thought. Like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do, and until the next time, goodbye.